Hey, this is Lynn Brown. Welcome to the Gritty Women's Global podcast. I just had to jump on and share this word with you. I've heard so much this week from women all over everywhere, the world for that matter, about storms. And I have actually um, experienced some storms, and my son just recently had a huge storm in his area, but all was well. But I just wanted to just talk about how we can navigate through these storms and how I have personally learned or am learning to do that. I used to panic. I used to get nervous. I used to, if bad weather was coming, I'd go to the door and say, Mama, 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 are we going to have a tornado? Are we going to have a tornado? And I would have anxiety and fear. And I did that over and over. And it was always just known that that's how I would respond during bad weather. So if chaos hit, or, the yogurt hit the fan, I would go to those old programs, that old programming, and finally, I got to that place in my life that no longer served me, but the only way that I could do that was by strengthening my faith. And so that's what I want to talk about just for a minute today. It's going to be pretty short here, but I just heard the most amazing, amazing story, and it was talking about listening and learning to listen. And now, by now, I like to run my mouth, so you can imagine growing up and even as an adult, there's been a lot of times that I talked more than I was listening. But it wasn't until I began to really slow down, until I was willing to truly listen in to what I felt the Lord was trying to teach me and show me. And it started just with being totally 100% dependent on the Lord. I used to depend on everything else. Like if I had a problem, I would pick my phone up, I would call my friends, I would call my family, I would, just go over and over and over, go around the same mountain a million times, trying to resolve it through conversation and just chatter and thinking through it. And what if this? And I just created this story. I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but I'll sit around and just create a story about anything. Well, it's not an effective strategy. Trust me. Learn from me. I learned the hard way. So you take my happy hacks, and maybe you won't have to go through all that. But basically, not only do we have to just depend on the Lord for everything, He is all we have. He is our rock. He is the only thing we have to depend on. And there's not enough time for this podcast for us to just share all over the world the things that we're seeing and hearing and experiencing, things that we probably never even dreamed that we would. But regardless of the circumstance, whether it's, a a medical report, whether it's something in your family, whether it's financial, whether it's job loss, whether it's a crisis, your child lost his scholarship. I don't know what it is, but it does not matter. We totally have to trust the Lord with all of our heart. And so in order for us to do that, we have to be quiet every now and then. I talked to somebody today, and she said that what she does is she cleans. She said I cannot stop cleaning. She said the other day her daughter asked her, Mom, can you just be still and listen to me for a minute? But she couldn't stop cleaning. So here's the thing. Whatever behavior we are replacing, and she's done amazing things in the last couple of years. She quit drinking, she quit smoking, but she replaced that with this obsession about just everything having to be in order. And so until we get to that place where we replace all those things with a relationship with our Creator and our Father, our Daddy, so to speak, in heaven, until we do that and we totally trust on Him, I think we're going to run after all those things forever and ever. And so how do we learn to listen? Well, I love stories. So today I heard this story about how Indians, how the children and the young hunters, how they would teach them to, hunt and use weapons and protect themselves. They would send them out into the forest without any weapons. Now that sounds kind of silly, doesn't it? How are you going to learn to hunt and protect yourself if you don't have a weapon? But they sent them out there, and they taught them through this. They learned the greatest lesson ever, and it was the lesson of listening. And so when we finally can get the noise and the clutter hear clearly. So what they would do is they'd send these young chiefs out into, the forest, and they would literally have to rely on their ears and to understand how to protect themselves and how to understand how to hunt and kill to survive. And they would literally get to the place where they would put their ear on the ground and they would be able to hear the sound and the hooves and the beat of the buffalo running. Now, I don't know about you, but I would probably find myself in a bit of a pickle because I'd be running my mouth so much that I would not be able to hear the daggum buffalo feet storming toward me. So there's a lot to be said for listening. So over the last about 7 years, I'm learning how to listen. And I start that in my morning routine, which I've shared a lot with y'all. Just my morning routine is my quiet time. There's no noise. Now I do recently got my husband got me a fountain that has water that ripples, and I love that. It's so peaceful. So that's not really interference. That's just a peaceful sound. But I do my quiet time, and I do my my devotions and my quiet time and my favorite verses and all that. I do all that, and that is what is teaching me to listen. It's oftentimes during those times I'll text people because I can hear the nudge. I can hear Holy Spirit nudging me to reach out to somebody. I cannot tell you, I'm going to keep it short today, but there'll be another time we can talk about that. I can just tell you time and time again when I text somebody, said, hey, you just popped into my heart. I just had to reach out to you. And they're like, you have no idea what I'm going through right now. One girl that I text, she was going into a courtroom at that moment. I mean, there are people that, God will lay on your heart if we can listen and if we can get that noise turned down. Now, I'm not saying you have to sit in a corner the rest of your life. I'm not saying that. But I am just challenging you to just think about that ability to listen. What would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Would you say you're a number 10 top-notch 5-star listener? So, when we find ourselves in the place of just delay or disarray, when things are disrupted, instead of just trying to drown out the sound of those things, we need to listen into those things. I mean, can you imagine buffalo running towards you would be quite a disruption. I mean, I'm sure you'd feel like things were in disarray when you heard the hooves of buffalo coming towards you. But if you were not trained and skilled like those young warriors were to listen to the sound of that, you would have been in a world of hurt. And that happens, I'll just speak for myself, that has happened to me multiple times. So anyway, that's all I've got for today. I just want you to lean into that and maybe just carve out a few minutes, just even if it's 5 minutes, just start with 1 minute. You would be amazed at just a 1% increase, what that can do over your life. And so just start little. And maybe it's just a 3-minute quiet time. Set your timer for 3 minutes. Can you just sit still for 3 minutes without checking social, without, anything? I double dog dare you to try it. But anyway, that's all I've got. But just know when the storms come, we don't have to go into panic mode. We don't have to go try to drown out that noise. We can just truly go to the one that we depend on, and we can listen to what he is showing us and teaching us in that moment. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not trying to downplay anything that you're going through right now. But I will tell you this, I've been through some crap too. We all have. I mean, we all have. Some of you are coming out of something. Some of you are heading into it. Some of you are right in the middle of it right now. But what I do know is that no eye has seen and no ear has heard and no mind has ever imagined what God has prepared for us. He has prepared it for those that love him. So that's all I've got. But again, just trust God from the bottom of your heart. And we don't have to try to figure everything out. He's got us. All right, until next time, that's all I've got. Thank you so much for being part of the Gritty Women Global Podcast. See you soon.